Graham isn't doing anything on Flynn. A former White House official said, according to the former official, Trump recently asked prominent allies to tweet negative things about Graham, and he has been complaining that Graham is a hanger-on. Trump has said since John McCain died, Lindsey follows me around and shows up to play golf, and I didn't even invite him, according to the source briefed on the conversation. And meanwhile, let me go to you on this, Jimmy. I will come back and let Gabe talk about his piece later, but I want to show an ad that you have something to do with, I believe. Here is an ad against Lindsey Graham, because here's the vice Lindsey Graham is in. Lindsey Graham is the guy who said once, if we nominate Trump, we'll get destroyed and we will deserve it. That's what he used to say. He used to call him a kook. He used to call him everything. Now he's all in, and as far as Trump is concerned, just hanging and clinging on to him. Here's the ad that's now running by a PAC called Lindsey Must Go. Here it is.
I want to talk to the Trump supporters for a minute.
I think he's a kook. I think he's crazy. I think he's unfit for office.
You've been a damn good president. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you more than anything else for putting up with the never-ending bullshit you have to go through.
He's a jackass. Every time I turn around, I'm being asked about Donald Trump, saying one dumb thing after another, and I'm tired of it.
So, Jimmy Williams, the challenge for Lindsey Graham is that when Donald Trump is behaving incompetently in the midst of a pandemic and golfing while 100,000 Americans are dead and more will die, he could run as, I'm an individual man. I am my own person. I've got my, I'm holding him to account. Or he can run as a sycophant. It's hard to be both. But he's both. He's historically been very critical, but now he's a sycophant. Your thoughts? Is there a chance he can lose in South Carolina?
Well, let me go back first to the front page of the Times this morning. When I saw that yesterday, the first two words that hit my head were Jesus wept. And so I think most Americans with any kind of moral decency or moral clarity will look at that and say, this didn't have to happen. Now, with regard to Lindsey Graham, someone who doesn't have any moral clarity or moral decency, or at least he used to, back when he was John McCain's best friend, and now he's Donald Trump's best friend. That quote by Gabriel's source is fantastic. And the great irony of it is that there's nothing that Lindsey Graham can do to suck up to Donald Trump enough to keep him from just basically enveloping himself. And that's the problem with Lindsey Graham. This is a guy who used to be for Dreamers. This is a guy who used to be for immigration reform. Remember that? I mean, he put together a package on immigration reform when Barack Obama was president, and the Republican House killed it. This is a guy who has been in Washington for decades and has been a reasonable person in Washington, D.C. And now he cares about two things: getting reelected and getting as many right-wing judges as he can on the federal bench. He has said so. And so what we're doing is using his own words. We didn't say any of that crazy talk that he did, using his own words. And we're just going to make sure that South Carolinians are reminded of the fact that Lindsey Graham does this number. And he wants to figure out where the political winds are blowing. Now, that doesn't mean he isn't like all the other politicians. It's his cravenness and his snarling and what he did with Brett Kavanaugh that makes us so upset down here. I know plenty of people that have voted for Lindsey Graham in the past and are pissed off as hell. And so our job at Lindsey Must Go is to make his life an utter and complete living hell between now and November 3rd. And even after that, if we actually have the ability to do so. And so we're going to raise a ton of money. We want your help. And we're going to make sure that everybody knows what Lindsey Graham's record is. It's all over the map. And here's the other thing. When you sit in Washington, D.C., for as long as he has sat in Washington, D.C., you got a record. I can't wait to show people Lindsey Graham's record because it sucks. It absolutely sucks.
Well, one might argue that he might be already in a bit of a living hell, isn't it? I mean, he used to consider Donald Trump a kook, and now he has to be completely solicitous of him at all times. How does one sleep at night like that? How does one sleep?